Right now, the most important economic artery in North America is physically disappearing. Not slowly over the next decade. Not in some worst case scenario pulled from a climate model. Right now. There is a number that should terrify anyone who buys groceries, pumps gas, or relies on the global supply chain. $130 billion. That is the value of the cargo that moves up and down the Mississippi River every single year. But this morning, the fleets of massive steel barges that carry the weight of the American economy are sitting parked in the mud. The water levels have dropped to historic, record-breaking lows. The river has become a sandbox, and the single lifeline that connects America's heartland to the rest of the world is choking to death. We have seen this exact kind of rapid, catastrophic water loss before. In the Texas Hill Country, Canyon Lake is vanishing at a rate of 34 million gallons every single day, leaving boat ramps ending in dry dirt and a region staring at a future where the water simply runs out. But the Mississippi River is not a recreational lake. It is the industrial spine of the United States. Thousands of barges are currently stranded, waiting for a channel that is getting narrower and shallower by the hour. The water that is supposed to be carrying American grain to the world and bringing fuel and fertilizer to the Midwest is gone, completely gone. Here is the part nobody is talking about. The real threat is not just that the water is leaving, it is what is coming up to replace it. Politicians are talking about emergency dredging. The evening news is showing pictures of dry riverbanks and farmers staring at grain they cannot ship. But the true nightmare is happening down at the mouth of the Mississippi, completely invisible to the cameras. Down in Louisiana, a massive silent wall of dense corrosive salt water from the Gulf of Mexico is creeping upstream. For thousands of years, the sheer, violent force of the Mississippi River pushing south kept the ocean at bay. The river was a shield, but the river has lost its strength. The pressure is gone, and now the ocean is swimming upstream, like the catastrophic saltwater intrusion that is actively dissolving the ancient limestone foundation beneath Florida's coast right now. This saltwater wedge is a slow-moving geographic disaster. It is threatening to permanently poison the drinking water for over 1 million people in New Orleans and the surrounding parishes. The Army Corps of Engineers is frantically building emergency underwater levees, sills made of dredged sand. They are trying to block the heavier salt water from creeping along the river bottom. But here is what they are not telling you. You cannot build a dirt wall high enough to stop the ocean when the river has given up. When a water system reaches its breaking point, the consequences are always devastating. Look at the Permian Basin in Texas, where a 200-foot sinkhole is actively expanding because water is silently dissolving the ancient salt caverns holding up the earth. The infrastructure collapses from the inside out. In Louisiana, if that salt water breaches the municipal water intakes, the pipes will corrode. The water will become undrinkable. And a major American city will be completely surrounded by water, without a single drop to drink. To understand why this crisis has hit the Mississippi so hard, you have to understand the sheer arrogance of what we tried to build on top of it. For 100 years, the Army Corps of Engineers treated the Mississippi River like an industrial plumbing project. They built dams, they poured millions of tons of concrete, they forced the water into narrow, perfectly engineered channels to guarantee that $130 billion worth of cargo could always get through. They engineered the banks, but they forgot to engineer the sky. This is the exact same catastrophic hubris that defined the creation of Walt Disney World. Disney spent 60 years and billions of dollars carving canals through an ancient Florida wetland, attempting to impose industrial order on a hydrological system that had functioned on its own terms for thousands of years. Disney tried to tell water where to go, and as they learned, water does not like being told where to go. Swamps have long memories and patience that no engineering budget can outlast. The Mississippi River is no different. We built an entire global economy on the arrogant assumption that the river would always be there to carry the weight. We treated it like a permanent highway. Right now, fleets of dredgers are working 24 hours a day, desperately scooping mud out of the channel just to keep a single fragile lane open for barge traffic. It is a frantic multi-million-dollar war against physics, but you cannot dredge water that does not exist. Every time a storm system finally rolls across the Midwest, people exhale. The water level creeps up a few inches. The barges move a few miles. The headlines immediately call it a recovery. Shipping companies load a few more containers and pretend the crisis has passed. Politicians point to the rising numbers as proof the system is resilient. Do not believe the headlines. We saw this exact same psychological trap play out at Lake Mead. After hitting historic lows, a good winter pushed the lake levels up slightly, and the public celebrated. But a 30-foot rise in a lake that is still 140 feet below full is not a recovery. It is a pause. The white ring on the canyon walls of Lake Mead keeps climbing, because the math underneath that temporary rise has not changed at all. The same is true for the Mississippi. A few inches of rain in a basin that is missing trillions of gallons of water is not a recovery. The entire river basin is caught in a compounding water debt. The rain stops, the sun comes out, and the river immediately resumes its slide toward the bottom. Canyon Lake in Texas recovered to nearly 70% capacity after catastrophic floods, making the crisis feel survivable for a moment. But the moment lasted barely 4 months before the skies went dry, and the lake began losing every gallon of that hard-won recovery, plunging right back toward historic lows. The Mississippi is following the exact same trajectory. The numbers are not stabilizing. They are moving in one direction, and that direction is down. The scale of what is breaking down right now goes far beyond stranded boats. The Mississippi River is the central artery of American agriculture. 60% of all grain exported from the United States travels down this river. When the river drops, the barges have to be loaded lighter so they do not scrape the bottom. Lighter barges mean fewer crops make it to port. Fewer crops mean shipping rates skyrocket. The consequences ripple outward, destroying livelihoods in real time. In Pinal County, Arizona, when the Colorado River shortage hit, farmers who had worked the land for generations watched their water disappear almost overnight. Hundreds of acres of working farmland went completely dry because their water rights were just paper promises that a shrinking river could no longer honour. If the Mississippi continues to choke, the pain will not stay localised to the riverbanks. It will spread across the globe. Downstream in California's Imperial Valley, a water shortage means the vegetables that stock grocery shelves from California to Maine disappear, turning a regional drought into a food crisis on every American table. The Mississippi crisis does the exact same thing to global grain and fertilizer markets. When the cost to ship soybeans and corn triples because the river is too shallow, that cost is passed directly to the consumer. A water emergency in the American Midwest becomes an inflation crisis in every grocery store in the country. For decades, we relied on a structural promise that was flawed from the beginning. In 1922, 7 states divided up the Colorado River based on unusually wet flow data, building an entire civilization on a fluke of history. They promised more water than the river could ever truly deliver. Today, Hoover Dam is staring down Dead Pool, the terrifying 895-foot mark, where the water drops so low that the dam stops making power completely and the lights go out for 25 million people. The Mississippi River was built on the same dangerous illusion. We assumed the water would always be deep enough. We assumed the rain would always fall. We assumed the supply chain would never break. But the math does not work. It has never worked, and it is getting worse. The river is delivering less water than the economy demands. The $130 billion Lifeline is not just slowing down, it is hitting the bottom. The barges are stuck in the mud. The salt water is moving north toward the drinking intakes of major cities. The engineering that held this massive continent-spanning system together for a century is fundamentally breaking down in front of our eyes. The Army Corps can keep digging. The politicians can keep praying for rain, but the river does not care about our supply chains, and the earth does not issue announcements before it fails. The Mississippi River is leaving, and the question that no emergency dredge and no political press conference has fully answered yet is the only one that matters now. What comes next when it is gone?